afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for the esteemed panel members for taking the time out to join us today. Thanks to the audience, and also thanks to the organizers for such a wonderful round of networking, discussions, and brainstorming sessions. I think the event so far has been very enriching in terms of the content that we've heard. And I would particularly like to draw upon the points made in the last panel discussion. I think they were extremely pertinent points. A few noteworthy points were in terms of the supply chain. So, when we look at a supply chain, it's not just the internal supply chain within our organizations that we're looking at. So, it's not just about procurement, manufacturing, warehousing, and logistics. It's the entire supply chain right from the time the raw material is produced till the time the finished product is given to the end customer. And if we define the supply chain in any industry in this manner, then as leaders of our organizations, it behooves us to not only work on our own internal efficiencies and processes, but also to see how our suppliers and our customers are acting in an equally efficient and responsible manner. Over the course of lunch and a few discussions we had, it was very interesting to note that the talk was really about getting multiple stakeholders from different entities in the supply chain and trying to understand their pain points and giving them solutions which can ultimately enable everyone in the supply chain to make money as well as achieve sustainability, governance, and at the end, customer satisfaction. Now, in any industry, and I think the automotive industry, having worked with various industries over the last 20 years, I've had the good fortune of understanding very closely how supply chains work across industries. And as we all know, the focus on operational excellence was driven largely by the automotive industry decades ago. If you look at JIT and the origins of JIT, uh, if you look at e-Kanban, one of the terms we've been hearing very often today, they all originated from the auto industry. And many significant players in the auto industry globally and in India have tried to imbibe some of these processes in their own companies to make sure that there is continuous flow of material and continuous flow of information to enable the flow of that material. These are some of the topics that we're going to touch upon today. And in the last 5 years, pre COVID, COVID, and now post COVID, we have seen how supply chain has become the focus of any organization. Prior to this, it was probably new product development or marketing and sales, isn't it? The people who actually get home the money. But in the COVID period, when the world came to a standstill and there were disruptions on both the demand side and the supply side, there were a lot of new insights that the supply chain fraternity globally realized. And we shall be talking about some of those insights as well. One of them is the faster adoption of technology. And I think the forerunners in the industry were quick to adopt technology prior to COVID because they could envisage the future, they had the right mindset, and they had the right willpower to implement those tech innovations in their organization. Come COVID, it was more of a compulsory thing that most OEMs or tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 manufacturers or manufacturing companies across industries realized that if they do not automate, they will probably go extinct and die. So that was the second wave of tech adoption where it was more of compulsion. And now we are in the third wave where there is so much innovation happening purely in the field of technology. And I was talking to a few friends and clients of mine overseas, and it was really interesting to note that the biggest impact the tech is having is in the tech industry itself. A lot of tech jobs that we've been reading about are becoming obsolete because a lot of them are now being done at half the cost, half the time by different robotic processes or different kinds of automation. So the day is not really far when the auto industry also, when I say the auto industry again, going back to the earlier definition of supply chain, we look at the raw material supplier to the customer, the entire supply chain needs to adopt as fast as possible the quick changes that we are seeing in tech today. And one of the changes that I'm sure many of us will relate to, which we've seen on the television commercials a lot, especially during the last few weeks when the World Cup was being played, was the insurance. So, one of the areas where AI or where tech is playing a very quick role is in the area of car insurance, where we are seeing mobility apps being designed by the insurance companies. And what is being emphasized in all those commercials? How many of you have seen that Saif Ali Khan and that commercial, right? Where there is a there is a father who's bought insurance and in a particular way, and he has experience of car insurance in a particular way, and then his daughter comes and says, "Here is the new app of that brand, and this is I had this problem. The car is here. It's been serviced. The bill is generated, and the car is delivered to me." So these are the kind of tech-enabled consumer-related changes that we are already seeing in the industry. What we are going to discuss in today's panel discussion also are the tech enablers in the inside. So we are going to talk about a lot of RFID products today. We are going to talk of barcoding. We are going to talk of how different powertrain and manufacturing related innovations are being done today as well, not just from a consumer perspective, but also from a pure industry perspective, regulatory perspective, and also the environmental perspective. So, having said that, we have a very interesting panel with us today. We have a two-wheeler manufacturing company. So, I will start with Mr. Ashwani. Uh, Mr. Ashwani, tell us really about when we spoke. You mentioned that in terms of supply chain and tech, it is really not just about the supply chain process, but even the structure that is going to undergo a sea change in the future.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen. This is post lunch, so I think let's keep everyone alive, awake. Uh, I tell you, last 30 years, been working in automobile industry. There is a sea change is taking place in coming last after post COVID. See, the problem is that the space in the factory, suppose one side is the supplier, you have around 100 suppliers who are giving parts on daily basis, and you have a 500 dealers on other side, and there is a manufacturing unit inside where you have to assemble the scooters. So I'm talking about scooters. We have around 6 models and around 6 to 8 colors in each models. Now there is a system where you have to assemble the vehicles in such a way that you don't have the inventory. Now the situation is that suppose every item has to come on daily basis, you don't have the space to keep that. For example, we have a frame. So earlier what we used to do is the child part of the frame used to get assembled in the factory when I was in HMSI, when I made Activa and all. So that time all the frames part used to assemble in-house. Now complete frame assembly is coming from outside. Similarly, all the painted parts used to get painted inside. Now complete painted parts coming from outside. So what we are finding is that the parts which used to come earlier, roughly around 300 parts, it's been reduced to less than 200, so that we can adjust the space. We don't have the space. If we get the trolleys in one truck, we get around 40 frames. So if you have to make in day 200 numbers, your frame has to move very fast. You have around 11 ABS. Everything has to move very fast. Similarly, you don't have the space to keep the vehicle ready, because if you keep the vehicle ready, there will be always a problem of space. So what I am finding that in coming after post COVID era, the system has been totally streamlined in such a way that you have to keep your inventory as required. You have to see your fund, because earlier we used to talk about QCDDM, quality cost delivery development management. Now I am adding fund F also, because you have to see that if you're keeping one inventory very high, your fund is also gone. So there is lot many changes which taking very fast. Second thing is, when you talk to the supplier and you ask them to supply on that day, on that time, on at hourly basis, you have to see that there is there is a road condition also. There is sometime the road will be congested. So how to adjust that? So every time the SCM people will be on always on a toe, talking to the supplier. Where is the truck? Where is the truck? Why it does not come? Because line is going to stop. So still that situation is not uh, improved. Why? Because of the infrastructure is not being, the population is growing so high that every time there is some accident somewhere and your truck is stopped, and suddenly you find that whole line is stopped because you cannot keep the inventory. So lot many things has to be done in coming days related to infrastructures. Basically, our governments are doing on that, but still lot many things have to be done. Last 30 years, the infrastructure has gone up very high. Earlier, we used to keep 15 on 1 month inventory. Nowadays, we hardly keep even a day of inventory. So that's a great thing which we have done.
Let me ask you another follow-up question to this. Since you mentioned of the days when we had the luxury of keeping too much inventory, A, because we had lesser models,
Yeah.
B, probably because we had lesser components as well.
Absolutely.
So I think one important thing that you mentioned is the kit, where you mentioned that from getting 10 parts, you get a
Yeah.
kit which kind of makes it easier for you for assembly,
Right.
as well as save space on the shop floor.
Absolutely.
But one thing the COVID taught us is that when we work in a JIT,
Right.
just in time model, and if there is a supply disruption, we are also taught that there is a concept of a buffer stock. You know,
Right.
we all have been reading about it and heard about it. So in the current environment and in the foreseeable future, if there are any supply chain disruptions that may happen,
Right.
either due to a geopolitical tension or due to any other reason, how do you foresee this system of JIT working?
Very good question. See, what I always feel that inventory is just like water. You have to keep inventory at supply end. You have to keep inventory at transporter go down, and you have to keep inventory at the OEM's place, so that the inventory pain is not felt to anyone. You understood? Because if you, earlier we used to keep 1 month inventory at the transport aid. Now we have reduced it to 7 days. What we are doing is we are going at the supplier and checking it whether they are keeping the raw material ready or not, because we have made a format that they have our inventory available. If we see that they have a capacity of 10%, we work on two shift and 10% over capacity. For example, if next month we have to make around 400 per day, so I have to have 440 capacity of each supplier ready, so that in case if we want press the button, immediately we can get the capacity circulation started. So what I am saying is that instead of keeping all inventory at your place, you distribute the inventory in such a way that even if 2 3 days problem is there, certain problems have come, some fire incidents taken place, still you can survive. You cannot have a line stoppage.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's move to Mr. Hirendra. Uh, I think that this is one of the pioneer companies. You started in 1964, am I right? And since then, I think the key focus has been product innovation. So again, when we talk of supply chain, and again, if we look at the future, we are going to witness a slurry of new models coming up in probably every segment of the market. And that's where the role of new product development and the linkage of new product development with the manufacturing setup and the suppliers comes into play. So, would you please share with us your company's journey and your vision for the future?
Yeah, uh, thanks for providing this platform for me to share this journey of our company. And let me just say that we are just experiencing the real culmination of our last 7 8 years thought process that brings to fore the um I would say, coming together of what the intricacies of global supply chains are. And I would just like to share and even comment on some points that Ashwani has shared with us, is that the world is a different place today. It was not so 10 years back. And we have to first recognize that the world is changing, okay? And the reason I say this is because our business has been there for the last 59 years. I represent the second generation of my business, and though we had all the capabilities to develop product, uh, we never, in our last, I would say, 40 years experience, uh, got to build an opportunity to build a full systems level transmission for our Indian customers, OEM customers like Tata Motors and Mahindra. Today, we are playing a global game. We have products in dual clutch automatics, EV transmissions, the latest generation 4x4 all-wheel drive systems, and we have a global play today. So what is it that has changed? I think this is the question that would be relevant for this discussion. And I think the way global sourcing is being viewed is, I would say, a significant shift from the buyer community as well as geopolitics. There are many issues that come into play. But the relevant point is, so who are going to be the winners going forward? I will say to understand this is to understand how the supply chain space is getting changed. Product life cycles are coming down, which means development costs have to be low. You have to be agile, local sourcing, geopolitical issues. These are issues that you cannot overlook anymore. And in the last 3 years since COVID, what we have experienced is absolutely revealing in terms of the kind of money and research we put into coming to where we are and going forward. So the key points I would like to share with you all as our experience is, the winners in this world are going to be those who cut down development cost, who are fast and agile, and are geopolitically immune. That is also important. I can't be dependent on a supply chain in putting a full system together, say an EV powertrain set together, where I'm dependent on a critical component that is geopolitically compromised. I can't do that anymore.
Right.
And if I do that for a short-term gain, I'm risking my business on a long-term basis.
Right.
So, from the experience of developing new product in this era of turmoil, I wouldn't say turmoil. I think that's the wrong phrase to use. It's in this geopolitical reset that is happening. It is important that you have a good balance between product development and also your sourcing strategies. And sometimes your product development, because because we have what is called as a product leadership screen, okay, the way we develop products. And if I can't develop a product to meet a market fruition, because I'm dependent geopolitically on certain sourcing strategies, it gives me those negative points, and I don't invest in that product development strategy. So I think this is the mindset I would like to share, and if we succeed, you will see our performance going forward.
Okay. So I'll come back to you on this, because you raised a very relevant point when you mentioned strategy, and purely talking from a strategy perspective, what the last few years have taught us and what the current scenarios are also teaching us is that we have to be economically and geopolitically safe, or can I say protected. So from a long-term measure, if we invest in the indigenization or localization of anything that is a critical component which today we are not able to source in India, vis-a-vis trying to find an alternative supplier to a very critical part that today comes from a country which is geopolitically unsafe. So I think it's when we look at strategy, it's a marriage of both what we do in the short term as well as what we want to do in the long term.
And let me share this as follows. If you look at how the political establishment of India is guiding us today, if India's energy needs is going to quadruple in the next 20 years, of course we have to be mindful of this. Where is this energy going to come from? We can't do this willy-nilly, right? The same thing applies to technology. If our automotive market is going to grow in a certain way, whether it is electrification, whether it is automation, whichever key technologies are important to the growth of our automotive industry, we need to understand where we are today and what are the sources of technology, and what are this. For example, I can't run down a path and say I can become India's number one EV supplier and be 70% dependent on China. I'm making this an open statement. That's the real geopolitics of the world today.
Right.
I will fall flat on my face.
Right.
No investor will, and I'm a publicly listed company today. So no investor is going to buy this strategy. I have to have supply chain security that enables me to make my long-term value proposition sustainable. And I will close that by saying the way we are working is to make our long-term value proposition sustainable. That is it. And for a company of our size, we have been reporting GRI sustainability for the last 7 years. It's voluntary. I'm not bound to do this, but I still do this because I know how important it is. Because it sensitizes not just me, but also my customers, my every stakeholder in my business, what the risks are. One of the biggest advantages of sustainability reporting is to assess your risk assessment and how you assess risk mitigation, whether it is a small community. And I'm telling you this, because we were doing this 4 years before COVID. When COVID happened, we were the first to bounce back because we knew how to respond to that situation because of our very deeply ingrained sustainability practices. And This is just a small example.
Thank you. Wonderful. As the saying goes, the more you sweat, the less you bleed. So, with that, let's move on to Mr. Mishra, and from a perspective of the industry that you represent and the company that you represent and all the different industries that you've worked for. When we look at a very required technology like RFID, can you share with us your experiences of the auto industry and how this technology can enable a lot of transparency and information in the supply chain?
Sure, Javin. And first of all, I'm really grateful that I'm a part of this panel, and I was carefully listening to Mr. Hiren and Mr. Ashwani, and their points actually, normally I was expecting this kind of discussion, so it is really exciting. Uh, so first of all, let's talk about what exactly we do. So Newland is a 30-year-old company, and we are one of the global manufacturer for barcode scanners, RFID, and different kind of track and trace devices manufacturer. So, and globally, we are operating almost in 300 countries. In India, we started back just 4 years back, and now we are, in scanning technology, we are kind of having the number one market share. And obviously, like we are currently working with more than 2,000 customers in India, direct customers from different sectors, and we are kind of a technology enabler for across the industry. It is not only confined to auto industry, but we are giving. So auto industry is one industry which is one of our focus industry basically in India, because India auto industry is growing like anything. After the innovation of EV and lot of new automation is happening. So it is really exciting to focus in this particular industry. Coming back to the topic, actually, I was just listening both of you very carefully. So all the problems which have been mentioned, I was just thinking these problems can be addressed with this kind of solution, right? So what kind of so the gap, what I understood from your side, Mr. Ashwani, that is the increasing the operational efficiency,
Right.
increasing the real-time visibility of the inventory,
Absolutely.
and increasing the whole supply chain. So automatic supply chain is something which is very complicated. I mean, in auto industry, the supply chain is and logistics are really complicated, and it is not. It has evolved a lot in last couple of years, and the industry which I was seeing 10 years back, as you rightly mentioned, it was entirely different. Now a lot of innovation happened, a lot of automation happened, but still there is a lot of way to go in terms of innovation, because the problem which is mentioned by you, for example, whether I should buy additional inventory or I should, how I mean. So once I start managing, I have got a visibility of what kind of inventory I have. Then I can, ultimately I can track with this kind of RFID and barcode technology. I can track the inventory automation. So inventory again is a big topic. So I don't want to, emphasize more on this topic. But yes, inventory management is one which is really essential, and having a real-time visibility of the inventory is again is most important thing, especially in auto industry. And it is not only the inventory of your components, it is a spare part which you need to manage for your customers for long terms. It is a warranty which you need to be tracked.
Yes.
It is the kind of a for example, just giving an example. For example, it is the tools and component which you need to asset management, also one of the major area where I think auto industry need to work, because the components, the tools is very important for any operations, right? So these are also now getting tracked with RFID. So you can, with the technology of RFID, you can track your component, your tools, your machineries, where exactly they are located, in which zone this machine is located or this tool is located. What, and if some of your worker is taking out some tool, so you can smoothly make sure that the same tool is getting returned back to the place. Okay, so these things can be tracked easily via RFID tagging and RFID technology. And I think this will also give a lot of advantage to increase your operation, your operational efficiency, especially. Your operation will be more smooth. Okay, so you will get the right tool in the right time. That is also one thing, you can adjust the time. So I again, the one more thing I have, because of the operational or visibility of your inventory. Again, that earlier what was happening, you cannot commit auto industry used to commit a tentative date to a consumer that in this date it will come tentatively. But now with this kind of help of the technology, you can calculate the time of logistics, you can calculate the inventory, you can calculate the production plan with a single window. You can tell the customer that this is the date, is the actual date we can able to deliver. So this will not only give a good image to the company, but it will also give a better visibility to your entire system. Right. So
Wonderful.
that is what.
Right.
And last but not the least, I just wanted to also highlight, in many cases now what is happening, starting from your okay, the RFID tagging, which I will not forget. So now the RFID tagging is also getting, it is a crucial part for any cars. So that is FASTag is altogether different. But in this technology, at least you can also track your finished good inventory, and you can also make sure that unauthorized vehicles is not coming to your parking place. You can also track in which zone this particular vehicle is there. Right. So these are some technology which is really, and we are there to help with this kind of technology.
Okay. So if I were to ask you, since you work at a more regional level, what is the adoption of this technology today, and where are the hurdles that you see? If Indian companies are adopting, then what is the reason they are adopting? And if they are not adopting, then is it purely a cost mindset all the time that drives them to not go for this, or the cost benefit is not very clear? What is your experience with Indian companies?
I don't think cost is the major concern actually. See, because for people need to understand the exact ROI of this kind of automation.
Right.
If they understand the whole ROI system, they will implement it. Because they need a good consultant first to make them give a proper preview of the complete ROI, what ROI they can they are going to get in 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year if they will invest in this particular technology. So that thing need to be communicated very well. If you'll get a right consultant in the right place, I think then things will be fly for you. So it is not about investment. I really I know like Indian companies are having huge potential to spend to expand, because the technology what we we are thinking about, I think in many of the countries they have also not considered, and Indians are really famous for doing like Mangalyaan. In a limited budget they can do many things, many automations.
Yes. You wanted to, yeah.
As a user, I could be a potential user of your technology, and that's I really appreciate what you said, is that we have to first clear the mindset of what this technology costs versus what is the value of my inventory. That value of the inventory is 10 times.
10 times.
And if I even improve the efficiency of that inventory by 3 to 4%, that's a cost saving.
Certainly.
So my question to you is, do you work with end user companies like us in integrating this data acquisition with systems like SAP and enterprise level? Yeah.
So we do the end-to-end automation. I mean, we have a lot of partners. Though we are a manufacturer for this product, we are a OEM. We are from the OEM side, but we are personally involved in designing the. We have our own solution solution architect. Those which help our partners to design the complete automation system, and we have a lot of use cases which can be done very efficiently. These use cases will not only help you to understand the whole these things, but you can at least visualize what exactly going to happen after implementing these things. So we can give the end-to-end solution for that.
If you can make some simulation models, like this is my inventory scenario today, and after implementing this, what could possibly be improved? Even if the simulation can be done through SAP, that would be a wonderful experience.
Yes, we have a lot of experience with many customers to integrate with the simulation process with the SAP only. So most of the automotive company currently using SAP only. So the integration is mainly happening with SAP only. And most importantly, like inventory, for example, if you know that what is, for example, in SPR division, let's talk about SPR. In spare part, normally the spares are very limited for one model. You know, if you don't have clear visibility that what spare need to be pulled and what spare need to be confined, then I think if you get a real-time visibility of if you get a projection for the same, it will be more easier for us.
Thank you so much. So, talking of data, I think what we've heard so far and what tech, the present or the future tech, will enable us to get is a lot of data, isn't it? So, let me move on to Mr. Vijendra Singh, and we will hear from him the importance of having the right MIS, if I can say that, where you have multiple reports giving you different alarms, because at the end of it, data is there to enable better decision making. So one is having the data with you. Second is having a technology or a tool or a platform to show the data to the user, and the third is of course the decision making that the data drives. So can you share with us your experience of working with multiple alarm reports for visibility of parts and geofencing?
We are working with multiple OEMs, and data earlier it's used to be like full data. Like we used to ask, like sir used to ask us that where is the truck, where is the part, this things is going on. And now we are going to push mechanism where we are doing geofencing of the supplier, we are doing the geofencing of OEM, we are doing the geofencing of our own hub where the material is coming from outstations. So what now we are doing, we are also involving their RFID tags and all. Whenever we are taking the part from OEM and we are taking to our hub, we are doing that tagging of the material, and then we are loading to line haul truck, and that same truck reaches to OEM plant. It's about inward process. Okay, and now we are able, due to geofencing and all, we are able to provide you real time data that where is the truck, where is your part exactly are. We are also providing customized dashboard to our OEMs, that in that customized dashboards you can check that which of your part is lying with which truck, and the truck current location also. It's come in the single screen, so you don't have to call us that multiple time that where's the part, where is the material. So now like before, MIS is now little bit old thing. Now dashboard is coming, which is providing you more visibility of your parts, real time one.
Right.
And that is enabling us due to geofencing and all.
Correct. Yes.
I just want to add in this. See, actually, in coming days, the complexity is going so increasing that you require a complete BOM. For example, a vehicle has got 200 items. I need a plane where 200 items, what is the quantity, what is the status at the supplier end, at the transport end, at the godown end, at the OEM's end. So with the 200 items, it's not one dashboard is required. So suppose now there are 200 people working in the supply chain. Why 200 numbers? Everybody is just following just one item. Why? It's not needed. So if somebody makes the system that complete 200 items uploaded in one screen, one person is enough to say that, okay, this item has to be tracked, rest is the green.
Right.
So that is the need of the hour.
Right.
Because we don't have, see, last 30 years, what has changed is the time. Nobody has got a time. Everybody wants today. Customer wants vehicle now. He wants this color now. Now, when you say, I want now, that means you have to work yesterday. You have to get it done immediately. And for that, you have around 200 items, and suppose 7 models are there, 10 to 14, 100 items is to be tracked immediately to give it to your customer. Customer is not going to wait. He is demanding. He wants changes. That is why the EV is changing completely. You see, what you said rightly, earlier we had almost all items coming because EV is new to India. All items used to come from outside because, especially China, because China is 30 years ahead. Now today we are 100% localized. Why? Because we have got acumen, we have worked on it yesterday basis, because we have seen that during Corona we cannot get the items. Everybody has stopped. So you need a supplier to be nearby. You need information on a time, immediately. It's not like I'm calling to the supplier, I'm calling to transporter. Why? Where is the item? Where is that? That is not needed. Everything should be on screen, and with one person, everything is to be done. That is the requirement.
Okay. So we don't have a system integrator on the panel, unfortunately. But my
So
question,
that is
what? Yes.
so that is called integrated. There's a single window that is called integrated strategic software. So in that integrated strategic software, you can have a complete visibility of your workflow, work in process, raw material to the last end delivery. So that is from in WIP in the production area, what is happening, where are the parts and what exactly happening in inventory, what is happening in logistic, what is happening, whether this truck, from truck's point of view, once the truck, so once you scan it and scan it and load it in the trucks, then once it reach to their warehouse, they will give a visibility of exactly the product is here. Once it is in customer end, once it is go to the consumer end, you can also track the warranty with all this automation. So the single window is possible, what I'm trying to tell you.
Now, due to geofencing, what is happening, like your part, when we are collecting your part from the particular supplier, and when the truck is coming to our area, automatically we get the information that particular truck is arrived, and after that, when we are giving the tag to particular parts, and the parts is getting moved to the OEMs, then definitely due to geofencing, whenever the truck is about to reach over your premises, then the geofencing will tell that the particular truck is already arrived. So all things, alarms are there. We have put certain timelines for all things, like if transit time is of 4 days and the truck have to run 400 kilometers per day or 600 kilometers per day, and if truck is not completing that task, then definitely one alarm will come to us and a particular OEM that particular this truck is coming late, and it will have a revised ETA of this much. And the company that the particular project team can go dig down that what has happened to a particular truck and inform the OEM also. And OEM will also get real-time data from our system that this particular truck is running delay. So you can plan.
Right. What also brings to mind is, this concept of a control tower in supply chain. So what typically OEMs or any principal companies would do is they would have a control tower designed within their organizations. And this control tower would actually help them, as you rightly said, to track the material right from the, where the raw material is, right from that stage for the plant. So there is a complete control tower for the plants, because plants need everything. They need components and tools and raw material and packing material. And then you have the distribution warehouses. So there's a separate control tower for that.
So that is called integrated strategic system.
Correct. Integrated strategic system. Yeah. So, but isn't that something that the principal needs to kind of design, or is it something that
it is something
a logistic company or a...
No, the integration has done by some kind of system integrator.
Right.
So like our partners are doing it the same thing.
Right.
So they will have integrated things get together, like SAP integration and other software integration, WIP integration, inventory integration. The whole system will be integrated in one window.
Right.
So
actually, I was reading AI, artificial intelligence. So most of the people must have used Chat GPT and all. So that is completely revolutionized. Earlier, the ERP system, like we are using SAP and all. So it converts into Excel, and then somebody is deciphering the Excel and then deciding on that. The system is required that the system programming, the machine programming, gets regenerated every time with the learning. Like 30 years before, I was not knowing nothing. The machine, artificial intelligence machine, will learn in 1 year what I learned in 30 years. What I'm saying is that something is required which gives the corrective solution. Instead of you deciding solution, what has to be taken? For example, one item has been critical. Now you would call the supplier, okay, no, this item is critical, it's stuck in some place, please set by the air. Okay, that decision has been done by the person has to be done. What I'm saying that coming days, what will happen? This all decision will be done by one person. You'll have only one person sitting in supply chain.
Exactly.
The complete machine is doing all things.
Yeah.
No need of 100 people.
Yes.
Or, for example, service. Now, service, there is a dealer, customers complaining that, okay, this scooter has got this problem. Now, there is AI is there built, the customer interacts with the AI, artificial intelligence people, and with his own knowledge, it gives the solution immediately, so there are 100 people sitting in service that can be reduced to only 1 or 2 people. So that is the things which is going to happen in coming days. Maybe 5 years or 10 years, we'll find that most of the things will be changing.
Absolutely. In fact, sir, you'll be happy to know that there are current applications which are there which use machine learning, deep learning technology or algorithms and are able to predict. So, for example, if your inventory levels are at a certain level today, and there is some information coming either from the plant
Right.
where the production is going to be maybe slightly delayed, and that is going to impact the inventory in your warehouse. So there are algorithms today which can kind of predict the levels of inventory
Right.
that you may have, and it will give you 2-3 kind of scenarios.
Right.
If the supply is coming as, or for example, if the disruption to supply has been corrected, and if the supply is going to resume, then this will be the inventory. If the disruption to the supply is going to continue for another 1 week, then what is going to be your inventory levels?
Absolutely.
So you are absolutely right. These are the kind of AI algorithms which, of course, we have experienced this in Amazon when we go shopping. They say based on your last shopping, I can recommend these items to you.
Right.
That was probably the first time we even came to know about something like AI, which was in a B2C space. But in a B2B space, like you have rightly said, there will be technology innovations which can predict your inventory levels so that ultimately it's about uninterrupted flow to the end customer.
Absolutely. That's the objective.
Can I just add to that?
Yes.
I think India is well placed to take a leadership role in the globe today. All that I'm hearing today is improving the efficiency of information and the transaction cost. At the end of the day, each of these information modes relate to a transaction cost, right? And at a global scale, with the India digital stack, we have already set the world standard of the lowest transaction cost.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the industry, academia, the government have to get together how to reduce this transaction cost at an industry operating level. Think about it.
Right. So with that, what we will do is leave the floor open to questions from the audience, after which we'll come back to some closing remarks.
So there's one question regarding RFID scanning, right? What I'm interested in is the system that you set up. Is it basis like let's say the gate in and gate out of the trucks as well? Because that is also quite important for loading, right? And then delivering it to the ports. So are you in that space also? If there are RFIDs like FASTag we have,
Certainly,
right?
certainly. So,
So-
that is called vehicle VMS. Normally, the technology is called VMS, vehicle system management.
Right.
So you can create, for example, we can not only give it in and out of the trucks, but also we normally in your, if it is a yard or maybe if it is a complete factory, then you can also locate where exactly the truck, what time the truck check in, and the truck is in which location exactly now. So we can also take it through RFID. So you can create the gate for entry, gate, exit gate RFID with RFID technology, and you can also create several zones, different zones with the RFID readers. So whenever the truck will cross that zone or nearer to the zone, it will give you the location.
Also, just one more question linked to it. is the packages which are stored in the truck as well, because that is also quite important for inventory management,
No,
right?
for packages,
So,
again,
yeah.
it depends. I mean, a lot of people are now little bit reluctant to, especially in logistic sector. Logistic sector, people don't want to use RFID because their cost will getting high per product. But yes, there are a lot of apparel industry which are, very prone to use this kind of RFID technology. And now RFID is getting really, the acceptability has been increased a lot in, especially in automotive sector. Because a lot of they need a speedy delivery. For example, in spare parts, if all the spare parts are tagged with RFID on a single window, it can get scanned. All the data will come without a line of sight. So that is also going to give us the faster visibility of the particular things, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just add one more question to what he's asked? Is there any possibility of this RFID getting linked and connected to GST and other connectivity like that? Because if you have multimodal logistics, like the dedicated for freight corridor, which is giving a lot of expediency to a lot of businesses in India, but you need multimodal transport services. That means the container has to be from the dedicated for freight corridor railway, has to be unloaded on a truck, taken to a port. Is there any work happening with the government that
eSeal is exactly doing the same thing currently. eSeal. So eSeal is basically for the container tracking. Normally, it's tracking the containers for RFID. So it has implemented in the year 2017. So eSeal was one of the biggest project for this kind of corridor, these things. But for multiple things, it is not yet happened because multiple things not entirely governed by the government or not, the policy cannot be implemented. But somehow it has happened currently.
Wonderful. Okay. So thanks for being a wonderful audience, and thank you to all the panelists. I think we'll take home with us some very key messages today. One is that we are kind of re-looking at the entire supply chain. We are also including new product development, because what we heard today is that going ahead, we are going to have a lot many more models being introduced in the market. Our development lead times are going to reduce. Our number of parts will probably increase, if not remain the same, unless we do standardization. That's what we heard in the earlier panel, actually. And we also heard a very important statement in the other panel, which I want to kind of draw your attention to here, is that the supply chain is as strong as the weakest link. And I think we all need to go back and probably introspect to understand internally where is our weakest link within our organizations. It could be in any department. It could be in, not to pinpoint that this particular department is the weakest link, but it is that particular department which probably needs more help from the management. So I think that perspective is very important, because nobody likes to be called as the weakest link in their organization, do they? But the idea is that we want to empower the entire supply chain in our organization, and we can do that only with the help of process alignment, people involvement, and of course choosing and implementing the right technology. Because we have a lot of technologies which are available today. The idea really is, how do we choose the right technology for our organization, and how do we implement that technology? We cannot implement technology in today's way of working by following what we were working yesterday. So there have to be changes even within the organization whenever we want to implement a new technology, isn't it? So it's not just because we have, I'm sure a lot of us have heard case studies of so-called failed technology projects. But at the end of it, when you introspect and review, you will realize that it was not the technology at fault. It was perhaps the way the technology was implemented, or the way the technology was understood by the people in the first place. So I think the message for the audience today that we would like to leave is, supply chain is the most critical function in any industry, of course. When we look at supply chain, it's not just the supply chain within our company, but extending it to our suppliers and distributors. We spoke about having a control tower in which I can have information from my supplier as to what is the inventory levels at his end, and also from my customer as to what are the new orders which can have an impact on my sales numbers for this month. So having said that, I would again thank all the panelists here and wish you the very best for the rest. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.